Well, I'm delighted this morning to be joined by Richard Young, who is the incumbent at Holy Innocents Fallowfield. And we're hoping that Richard and the people of his church and parish will become part of the new mission community that we will be part of in the months ahead. You're going to hear a lot more about mission communities, in fact. In terms of like where you're placed in Fallowfield, I mean, most of us, we're very familiar to driving down Wilmslow Road into Oxford Road and passing this in very, very beautiful and quite imposing building, which is Holy Innocents Fallowfield. How would you describe Holy Innocents as a faith community? What do you think characterizes it?
Some people live in the parish, but most don't. There are lots of people who come because they like what we do and the way that we do it. In terms of the churchy labels, it describes itself as modern liberal Catholic. Mm-hmm. So if you came to a service, it would be a communion service. Invariably, it follows a very set pattern. I think I talk about that being the form, but what really matters is the content. It's a church of people who are very serious about prayer and about silence. We hold regular quiet days. It's a church where we combine values around contemplation and action. And we match this sense of contemplation with a commitment to action on social justice. There's a long tradition with working with asylum seekers and refugees and the marginalized in society. And that really took off about 5 years ago in a way that was quite unexpected for the church, because a bunch of Iranian asylum seekers were housed by the Home Office in houses next to the church and started to come. And that's blossomed into quite a large group. And you'll know about this because you have a similar group in your church. And building on that work, one of the things that's happened since I've been at Holy Innocents is that we've set up a charity. The charity is looking to take practical action to enable a fair access to these very wonderful, very talented people to build themselves the kind of lives in this country that they had to leave, often for reasons around politics and gender and in a very dangerous country that they had to leave behind.
Richard, tell us what you think a mission community is, or our mission community is, and what it might achieve.
Well, I think the way it's been launched by the diocese, it's really about two things. One is a very practical thing, which is we're going to have many fewer stipendiary ministers in the future. So there's a practical thing, project around being more creative in the way that we develop models of leadership within our churches, with a much greater emphasis on collaboration and also on unpaid ministers like me. But certainly one of the practical things that we'll be working on is developing new and positive ways to embrace the changed situation we find ourselves in and create new models of leadership. That's the practical side. The more visionary side is in the name. It's the mission. It's finding ways that we can work together to open up ways into our churches for people who are interested to come along. I have a view of mission, which is that God does all the work and our job is just not to get in the way. And so for me, it's about opening up pathways and making sure that those people who are searching for something deeper find ways into the church that are helpful for them and that enable them to answer the questions that God has placed on their hearts. And there are lots of ways that we can do that. And we're much more able to take new initiatives and do things as a group than we might be as individual churches.
I think that's a very encouraging vision for what the mission community could be. We can see it already starting with our collaboration around the Farsi ministry, but who knows where it might take us. I think that probably is a great introduction to the first interview in the new mission cluster. So thank you, Richard, for joining us this morning.